Join us today for another episode of Conceptually Speaking, where we explore some avenues of inspiration for writing your D&D campaigns and one-offs.
If this seems a little jumpy and there seems like extra cuts, for some reason, the phone that we're filming on, which is the phone that we film on all the time if I'm here, keeps shutting off for some reason.
Yeah, don't think I've randomly stepped up my editing game and we're cutting out the cref. That's a ways off, folks. Welcome back to those of you who've been here before, and welcome to those of you who found your way here now. Today we're going to be talking. This is going to be another episode of our Conceptually Speaking series. These are, if you haven't seen them before, we kind of just kind of go once we have a topic. You know, we don't really necessarily have an end point in mind. We could wander off into 1,000 different tangents, although we will try to stay on track. But you know, this is far more of a conversation than an info dump. In other words, is how I should probably state that. So,
and our other videos are so tightly managed.
Yeah. I know it's in contrast to our laser focus and all the others, but yeah. So this one, this is kind of a broad topic, but we've done a few videos where we've kind of explained where people can find inspiration for their D&D campaigns, and so this is kind of in that vein, but also a little bit just for writing in general. And it's just been something that's kind of been on my mind lately. And it's a topic that I do want to include in some of our other videos on more of the sci-fi side than the fantasy side. And yes, I know in the other video I said, well, you know, it's harder to adapt sci-fi than it is fantasy. I know I said that, and that is still true. But I think there's an excellent sci-fi example that can teach you important lessons for adapting, even if you don't end up using anything specific from it.
All right, we'll bring it.
Okay, and that is Star Trek. Now, I am primarily meaning the series here, like the original series, you know, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, you know, up through at least Enterprise, I suppose. I've seen up through there. You could probably still glean some of these lessons from Discovery and Picard. I haven't seen Strange New Worlds yet, so I couldn't tell you for sure.
I've seen a couple of those. It was I don't know what you're talking about, but they were good. I like them.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't seen them. I loved the guy that's playing Pike in Discovery Season 2, so I have high hopes for Strange New Worlds. I just haven't got around to watching it yet. Okay, so now here we are, you know, sci-fi, but you said it doesn't work. Okay, well, but here's what I mean. It's say you're sitting here and like, whatever am I going to do for my campaign or my one shot or whatever? Now, ideally, you'd take my other advice and find you a fantasy movie from the 80s that your friends haven't seen, watch it, take some notes, and adapt it. But this is kind of okay, well, how do you do that? All right.
On that note, I watched Beastmaster the other night.
Yeah, that's a great one. Mm-hmm. There's some potential in there. Mm-hmm. So I feel that Star Trek offers you a chance to do this because, for one thing, a lot of the episodes are one-offs, so you don't have to have this huge commitment to like, okay, I've got to watch this 3-season story arc to fully understand everything so I can map it out. It's like, no. Pick a one-episode one-off, okay?
Con.
Yeah, Con's one episode, you know.
Tribbles.
And then the movie, you know, or the Tribbles, you know, you got all kinds of options. There's one in particular, and I can't remember the title of the episode, but they find a guy, he's a human scientist who has discovered some alien ruins where there was like this robot technology, and he's reactivated this one really big robot who's played by the guy that played Lurch in the original Addams Family, right? That's Lurch, yeah.
Yep.
And it took me a minute to recognize him. Once I did like the voice and the face, I was like, that's Lurch for sure, yeah. And he's a robot that's so old he can't remember how the race that created him died off. Now I know you're thinking, oh, he's a robot. He should have perfect memory. Like, just go with this.
Well, things degrade.
Yeah.
I mean,
but Kirk does bring him back around to remembering it. You know, he's like, that's it. That's why. And then he's like, I have to destroy the Overseer, like because that's what we did. We destroyed them because they became too epic, you know, whatever. And so as the episode progresses, like the guy tries to create a duplicate of Kirk, send him back to the Enterprise. And Kirk's big plan is he intentionally thinks like weird racist thoughts about Spock. So whenever Spock like presses him, he just like starts spouting like Vulcan racism at him, and Spock's like, "What the hell's going on here? Like this is totally not like Kirk. Like I mean, it is a human and irrational, but like what the hell? I thought we were friends." And at the end, I believe Spock kind of admonishes him like, "I think you could have found a better way to do that, Captain. Like, but it did work.
but it was effective.
Yeah." So, but as the episode winds down, you realize the guy died. It's just a robot that the guy made of himself that they've been dealing with this whole time. And it doesn't even know he's a robot.
Oh, I thought you said it was a robot.
No. That there's the big Lurch guy.
This
is the human. Like
the one that turned everything back on.
Yeah,
he's a robot too.
Yeah, and so
he's a Philip K. Dick robot.
Right, and so in fact, I would be thoroughly surprised if he didn't write this episode.
Right.
So,
or at least they stole it from him.
Yeah, that too. Speaking of which, that's kind of where this is all going. Like after watching an episode a couple years ago, like that plot just always stuck with me. Like, you know, it wouldn't take anything to restructure this plot to remove the Star Trek references, rejigger things a little bit, and you probably have a decent sci-fi movie on your hands right here,
sure,
or a book or something.
But I mean, theoretically, couldn't you do with anything? I mean, the Christmas movie that is not a Christmas movie, the Die Hard. I mean, if you tried hard enough, you could you can put that in a castle and reflabel everything.
You could. Okay,
Nakomi Towers could be, you know.
Right, you could. But my point here with these ideas is, find you an episode like that in your mind it all clicks. Like I could see how I could do this, and then sit down and write it out. You know, start.
Oh, you're using this as a tool.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
And so there's a movie I watched, at least most of, called Finding Forrester.
Yeah.
Sean Connery and I believe Busta Rhymes plays the main kid's dad. I don't know who plays the main kid off the top of my head. Everyone was good in the movie though. Sean Connery. Right, so Finding Forrester. Sean Connery plays a well-known writer who's gone into seclusion and meets a kid who ends up, new neighbor, and sees that he's got some promise as a writer, and tries to teach him some of the tools of the trade eventually. And one of the ways he starts doing it is he basically, I believe, the first thing he did was he had him literally just copy his stories to get the feel for how they flow. But eventually it became just use the first paragraph and then you go. And so I think...
Well, I was just going to say, I think that's a good device for any burgeoning creative writer. Yeah. I used to do that all the time. I used to just think of the most outrageous first line I could think of and then build a story off of it. Like one time it was, and there I was standing in a rest stop bathroom off I-80 in Sidney, Nebraska, peeing blood. And then I wrote a story out of it.
Yeah.
And that was just the craziest sentence I could think of.
Yeah.
I used to do that all the time.
Yeah. So you can definitely do that. I would recommend that too.
I always meant that what you're doing, taking the first paragraph and making it the same deal.
Yeah. Yeah, what I was going to say was, so pick your episode once you've got one that you feel you can do this, and just kind of write it out how you feel it transpired. Okay. Then once you've done that, kind of look at it and be like, okay, so now if this were going to be something else, obviously I got to change everyone's names. So start there. Do it with the same stuff but different names. And then as you keep like going through iterations, begin putting things in your own words. And then ultimately, once you feel you can tackle it, kind of look at it. Okay, well, had I made this originally, I probably would have done things like this, and start moving the parts around, introduce new parts, and just go through iterations until you're comfortable with. Okay, had I done this and had I made this proposal, I would have done it like X. And I think if you do this, you maybe once be enough, but you do this a couple times, and in no time you're going to be able to look at these examples and be like, okay, so if I were doing this, I'd make this guy a cleric, and I'd make this guy this thing, and I'd set it in this setting over here, and I'd take this thing that I've already got in my campaign going on
And
over
Spock would
here.
be a monk, and Scotty would be a
Artificer, maybe, I don't know,
right.
and yeah, and just do that until you're comfortable with the creative process, okay? Because that's crucial if you're going to be designing any of this stuff yourself. You're not going to get it right first time out, like, or the second time, or the third time, or I don't know, maybe not even the first decade. Who knows? Don't stop. Keep going.
Don't stop.
Yeah, another little bit of this is also from a movie, but it's good advice anyway. It's from a movie called Wonder Boys.
Yeah,
Michael
great.
Keaton.
No,
Not
Michael
Michael Keaton,
Douglas.
Michael Douglas. Yeah, he's
And
a writer. He's a writing professor.
Tobey Maguire, was it?
Oh yeah, it's got it's we have Ant-Man, Iron Man, the original Spider-Man. I think the Chancellor was a Hydra agent in one of the movies.
Oh, nice.
Like it's yeah. So and one of the members of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is one of the students. Mac. He's one of the background students. Has like two or three lines. But yeah,
I didn't know Danny DeVito was in that.
no, not him.
I'm kidding.
No, he'd be good. He's a good actor,
Not as a student in that time setting.
No. So Michael Douglas is explaining to he's the professor. He's a writer. He's had one hit, and now he has like not writing paralysis. He has whatever Tolstoy had, where he just can't stop, and he's got like this 4,000 page tome that like even he can't answer what it's about. Whenever someone finally confronts him, and his agent is Robert Downey Jr. And so they're talking towards the end of the movie, and he's like, "Look, you don't understand. Like, what you tell all these kids, the kids that have the talent, you tell them to keep writing, to nurture the talent. The kids that don't have the talent, you tell them to keep writing. Maybe they'll find a voice somewhere along the way." So the essential premise is just keep at it. You will either improve or just become more comfortable with it, one or the other, or both, hopefully. Because I don't want to sit here and tell you that some people just don't have it. I mean that is the truth, but
That's not to say that you shouldn't write and write some more and write again, and regardless of whatever negative or even if it's constructive criticism that you get, that isn't what you want to hear, which is that you are a prodigy and the best writer that has never published anything ever in the world, and why aren't you a bazillionaire, which is what you want to hear.
right.
But if you don't let that bother you, because that's like saying that, well, Michael Jordan, factual accuracy here, Michael Jordan did not make his high school basketball team his sophomore year of high school. But he kept trying. And he made the team his junior year, and his senior year he's really good. And he got scholarships to play basketball at the University of North Carolina. Parlayed that into being drafted by the Chicago Bulls, and 6 championships later, and the title of the GOAT later, he kept on.
Yeah.
He didn't listen when his coach told him he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And he did it.
So there you go. Be Michael Jordan.
Be like Mike.
Don't want literary Michael Jordan.
Want to be like Mike.
But yeah, and so that's my point. And one of the reasons why I look at Star Trek is, again, it's episodic nature. It is a little bit of a challenge because it's sci-fi.
Yeah.
But if you can comfortably adapt it, then any fantasy movie you come across should be a breeze.
Anything you can do with technology and phasers, you can do with magics.
Yeah. I mean,
Not to mention the fact that you're writing it.
Yeah.
If there's something that's technology based, then like the transporter, well, that sounds an awful lot like
Teleportation.
that's
still.
the one I'm looking for. Yeah. Yep. And phasers, Eldritch Blast, Fireball.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it is learning to be able to. You set yourself this little bit of a challenge here because you want to be able to look at these things and be like, okay, what is that in D&D terms? And so
But if you can't find it,
make it.
make it. And if you can't make it work with what you're doing, then chuck it and do what you need to do to make what yours does work.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's your world. It's just like your Bob Ross, man. Put a happy little bush wherever you want to. That you need a happy little cloud up there, put a happy little cloud up there. You need a new spell, make a new spell. Whatever you got to do. You do you, boo.
We need to put that on the shirt. DMs.
The Bob Rosses.
You're Bob Ross. Make the world your happy little tree. We're gonna workshop that one.
Put a happy little goblin over here.
Yeah, there we go.
Happy little gelatinous cube over here.
There we go. But yeah, so that's like, again, that's why I'd look at Star Trek. But again, it's episodic. Even though it is sci-fi, there are fantasy elements to it already. The sci-fi elements are somewhat easy to convert to sci-fi. You've got your episodes that involve political intrigue, if you want to look at that. It resolved within an hour. So,
which, by the way, whenever I DM my first campaign, there will be political intrigue.
Yeah.
And espionage. And low-down, underhanded deviousness.
Well, I mean, I'm down. Don't know about everyone else, but
don't care. My world. They're just playing it.
But yeah,
if they don't like it, I'll take it to Roll20 and
there you go.
Give it to people that appreciate it.
Yeah, so that's that's why I'd look there. I mean, you could just as easily look at something like Xena or Hercules, and if you want to start off with more of the I guess training wheels approach, easier approach.
Yeah, so if you go from fantasy TV or movie to fantasy setting, it's not as big a leap. It's easier. So if you got to start there, start there. But then if there's something in Star Trek or Serendipity or Battlestar Galactica or Star Wars or Indiana Jones, if there's something that speaks to you and says, I would love to have that plot in my thing, then put that plot in your thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because one of the ultimate lessons, and I'll go ahead and tell it to you right now, but you'll internalize it doing some things like this, is that these plots, the primary plot is typically not married to the genre. So, like, for instance, Star Trek was originally pitched as a Wagon Train to the Stars, and I do believe Wagon Train was a Western.
That's correct.
Right?
Yep.
So it's literally just going from point A to point B, encountering new things either along the way or at point B, and then next episode moving on to point C.
And it's your adventure. I mean, do it out. Use a rom-com. I mean, if your players want to run, there's a princess in your setting, and go rescue her and run off and have a love story if that's what they want. I mean, it's your setting and it's your players. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you're unsure of your abilities, like, hopefully some of what we've said here will help you try to gain confidence, a little bit of experience, shore up some things. And this is by no means all the advice. Like, you should definitely, if you do these things and you're still coming up short, definitely look around. There's all kinds of writing advice on YouTube, and I've yet to really come across bad writing advice.
I really like the thing you did. I mean, I've been writing for decades. I haven't had one thing that wasn't self-published, but I'd never thought about just start with the episode, write down the episode in longhand and the way you view the episode, then go through and start making changes and making changes and making changes until you come up with your thing.
Yeah.
Never thought of it.
Yeah.
It seems pretty simple.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's something I was thinking about, and I kind of loosely remembered that that's what I thought they were doing in the movie Finding Forrester, and it all kind of clicked. It's like, well, I could see that actually working.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's some advice to look forward to try out. Also, we will be, well, some subset of us, I don't know how many, will be continuing the whole like, hey, so how would I adapt this movie to this thing? Because, like I said, I know
Is that
if
the franchise fix thing?
no, that was the like real early on. I did about the Conan movies,
Oh, right. Okay.
and
All right.
and that's where I was like, oh, you couldn't adapt 2001. Well, I have a video where I went into. I haven't edited it yet, but I have one where I have about 20 minutes of me babbling about how to transform 2001 into a D&D adventure.
That's beautiful.
So,
I can't wait to see it.
spoiler alert, like it's almost entirely about the monolith. Like forget Hal, the moon, and all the other stuff. Like it's about the monolith. That's the which is I've mentioned it in the other videos, and hopefully you'll take it away from these also. But occasionally there's a lot in a story that you're trying to adapt, and every once in a while you need to be like, I want this one thing. I don't need the whole buffet.
Yeah, you can always go back.
I just want the one thing.
Well, and you can always go back if you need more at the end of it. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go back and put Hal in as a talking rock or whatever. You know what I mean? A talking music box, whatever. I mean, you know what I mean? Anything, whatever. He's a long dead wizard whose essence was encased in a gem, and he talks to you. I mean, whatever.
Could see that.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, so hopefully this helps some of you out there. If it does, definitely let us know. If it doesn't, let us know, so we'll take this down and never let it see the light of day ever again.
Well, yeah.
That's probably not going to happen. But
No, but we will address in a future video that we're sorry it didn't help you, and we will try to figure out what would.
Yeah, there could be a mistakes were made video, but here's penance. Here's some other ideas.
Another spoiler: we're going to make mistakes.
Oh yeah, we're definitely not. Neither of us are published authors, so like, or at least I'm not. I don't think you are. Are you?
I self-published.
Self-published. Okay.
Sort of on a blog that
Well,
had a lot of stories on it.
I mean, that's more than I've done. So
Right.
They
weren't fantasy stories, but they were stories.
Sure, but I mean, you're putting it out there for people to see.
It's been out there on the web since like 2010.
Yeah, that's a big first step. Like, a lot of people don't realize like a lot of these things. We're dealing with a community of socially awkward people.
Charisma is our dumb staff.
Yeah, and not just us. That's a lot of you folks out there too. Like, presumably most of you understand that. I hope, but if not, like it's not.
We're not talking about you then.
If not, it's not the end of the world.
If you're not feeling that on a very personal level, we're not talking about you. And if you do feel that on a personal level, we are talking about you, but we're with you. We're not talking about you. We're talking with you.
Yeah, if you're not feeling that, you're probably that guy that I encountered in line at Gen Con several years ago. Me and my friend Chris.
I don't like him already.
Who we're sitting there, and this is the first or second year because we were still waiting in line to get our tickets, and this guy's there with his girlfriend, and this is the guy that outside of this convention you wouldn't take one look at him and be like, oh, look at this guy's in the deal. Looks like no, this guy looks like a surfer dude or something. Okay, and his girlfriend's very attractive too. Like this is the kind of couple you could see existing.
Not being at Gen Con.
Yes. To be blunt, yes.
Yeah.
So this guy goes walking by in an outfit that I didn't recognize. And at the time, like, I read all kinds of, magazines about all this crap that's there. I consider myself reasonably knowledgeable about all this stuff. I have no idea what this guy's supposed to be. And this guy's girlfriend is like, what's that guy's? Oh, that's an L5R guy. Those dweebs or something like that. And I was like, dude, do you grasp where you're standing, what you're waiting in line for? Like, what are you doing? Like, I get, yes, I personally do make jokes about the LARPers, okay? I do. But I also understand that, like, that's a very much a pot calling the kettle black scenario.
Yeah, because you pseudo LARP at them things.
Like,
them dungeon crawls are pseudo LARPing, dude.
were you talking about the true dungeon?
Yeah.
No, it's really not.
It's not?
No.
No.
We don't dress up for that.
Well, right, but that's what it is. But that's what you're making fun of with the LARPers, is the fact that they're Renaissance enough.
The dressing up and like if you ever seen them like the lightning bolt where like throw a bag of sand at each other.
I've only seen it on the TVs.
And things like that. And it's like, and folks, I'm not trying to put anyone down that does that. It's a harmless hobby. If people enjoy it,
Kind of sounds like you're trying to put people down, Bob.
But I do find it hilarious. Okay, but just know that. Well, yes, I am laughing at you.
Also laughing with you.
Like 90% of me is laughing with you. Okay,
and 90% of that 90% is nerdier about something else.
Yeah, but my overarching point is like I would not externally like if some scenario were to arise where like someone from the outside is like shitting on those people or picking on them or whatever, like I'm gonna be like, no, what the hell are you doing? Like,
we'll rumble.
These people, this is a harmless hobby, just leave them be.
And I do have that skill set.
So
I'll LARP with them.
So yeah, like I'm gonna laugh at you, but I'm on your side. Is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, this was like
solidarity.
This was mean spirited and vindictive. Is where I'm going with this for the guy.
Bobby laughing at LARPers is like Chad laughing at me about something. It's okay, cause I'm gonna laugh at him about something.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that reminds me. The one year that there was the eclipse, like a couple years ago, was
that during Gen Con?
They were so upset 'cause it was the next day. It was like the day after. It was like Monday, and they were like, "Man, like this would have been perfect. Like the LARP would have been epic." And I'm just like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess it would have. Like, you don't have a total solar eclipse very often to work with. Like,
well, I mean, as a dungeon master of a LARP, I mean, that's pretty handy to have to work into your thing.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I can see it. I'll give you that one, LARPers. Like, that would have been cool.
If I'm a dungeon master and I know there's going to be eclipse, I'm going to work that into my stuff, and that's going to be awesome.
So, yeah. Got another one coming up in the next year or two, right?
Yep. Oh, sorry.
So, but, yeah. So, that's, and so it takes a degree of either confidence or foolhardiness or both to just put yourself out there.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be one way or the other.
Yeah, it could be like genius and insanity, where some people think there isn't a line.
Or it could just be like you have maybe a modicum of talent. Your speech teacher in high school said that you had some skills. Or with me, it was I would get my speech back or my composition back or whatever. There'd be red marks all over it because I never cared if my participle was dangling or whatever would cause red marks on a paper. But then I'd always do well. I'd get an A or B with some kind of note saying, well, your grammar sucks, but you have a way of writing to hold people's attention or something. So maybe you have a modicum of skill or talent like that, but a huge desire.
Yeah.
Well, eventually, what Bobby postulates is that if you use some of these tips, to me, especially that whole writing the stuff out, whether you're copying a book of your favorite writer or you're writing down the plot line of a Star Trek episode and then slowly changing that into a fantasy one shot, whatever your deal is, just keep putting it down. I don't care whether you're writing with pencil or crayons or on a laptop, just do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the key, is keep doing. That is the only way to improve. And also again, like, to gain confidence in your skill set, to hit the point where you feel like I have something I can offer to other people, be it the public or just your group or whatever, because it's a big first step. Like, I mean, just look at what we're on right now. Not everyone has a YouTube channel. In fact, I don't know how many channels there are on YouTube, but I'm willing to bet we're talking like 1% of the population.
Okay.
Like, maybe 2, 3 tops. We're definitely single digits.
Although the ratio of Dungeons and Dragons channels to total Dungeons and Dragons players is much larger than that 1%.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the point. Is you have
Creative people seeking a creative outlet.
right, and that's a big part of I know why I want to do all this is because I do have creative ambitions, and I'm relatively certain I'm never going to make any movies in Hollywood. So
You don't know.
I don't know. I'd say it's relative.
Someone's Quentin Tarantino or someone's going to see one of these videos, one of these days, and be like, you know what, these guys should be helping me make movies,
Hey, I mean, if you do Quentin, we're on board.
or whoever, not
Well,
whoever, some other people.
there's a lot of you we're cool with. Yeah, we'll not name names, but for the most part,
If you call us and we don't call back, you're one of the ones we don't like,
yeah,
and I feel safe saying that because ain't no one ever going to call us.
yeah. So yeah, but it's a big first step. That's why there's all kinds of players and so few DMs. Because that's a reason. Because I know people that DM, like, you've got to put yourself out there. You got to be like, okay, well, we're either copying this scenario over here, which plenty of DMs do that. That's why they publish them. Or I'm going to make my own thing. But either way, like, you're in a lot of ways you're the glue.
And you're the dude with the starter pistol. Either way,
Yeah. So
like for instance, this is a very good example. When I called Bob and said, "Hey, been thinking about getting back into the D&D again. Can you hook a brother up?" He said, "Hey, well, we've been talking about starting one, but there's nothing really getting rolling on it because the guy who's going to be the DM really ain't doing nothing to get it going. So I've been thinking about jumping over to the DM thing to get that going." I said, "Well, do that and let's go." And then here we did.
yeah. Likewise with the channel here. This is the end result of at least got 8 years of talking about it with a couple of people, and finally, having Brad here. Brad is a doer.
Sometimes what I do is lay on the couch, but I do.
Yeah, I'm not typically the driver of change. Not typically. Sometimes I do get a wild hair at my ass and decide to do it myself. But typically, I'm going to hop onto the train that's going the way I'm going. And then we have a few other stragglers on who we're trying to illustrate that the train is leaving the station.
Come on, get on the train.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And not Chad. Chad will make it to the train station occasionally.
Yes. Chad is.
Although, to be fair, Chad was the dungeon master. They wasn't doing nothing.
Well, if I remember right, it had to do with the hours of his job changed.
Sure.
And, there was a legitimate reason. I mean,
Right.
I razz on Chad for things, but I mean, he's got usually legitimate reasons for things.
If I acquiesce to him being the pretty one of the group, I get to rag a little bit.
And so, yeah, and and I'm not meaning to put down our other group members from the game or anything. Like, they've got lives, they've got kids.
Sure.
It's hard.
But I'm the dude that's gonna get the train started and switch the track and tell everybody to get on, and some people just don't get on.
Yeah.
Which is all well and good.
Yeah. So, let's see if with our train metaphor, I think we're pulling into the station here. So, I think that's about what we've got on this particular topic. I'm sure we'll have more at some later date.
For sure.
Because,
as the new classes and the world building continues, I will be inspired with such things. I assume that at some point you're going to start putting pen to paper metaphorically, and then some more things will pop into your head. There will be more videos on this topic.
Yeah, and I mentioned in one of the other videos that I do have some stuff written up for some other classes from back in 3.5 concepts. I have found some of that stuff, but not the big trove of stuff that I wrote down yet. Because I'm having to move stuff around because of the holidays and people coming into the house, and I just haven't had a chance to really dive in and find it.
I had two full drawers of a chest drawer full of pen on paper writing from stories from when I was in high school till I was 30.
Yeah.
and sometime in the 1,800 times that I've moved, they made their way to a landfill or something somewhere.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got, I think, 3 backups of the stuff I have on my hard drive for writing, just in case something like that happens.
Well, see, this was
I
back
and
in the
I've
this is the 80s and 90s,
yeah
man. I was pen on paper.
yeah, and I've been our older computers that are laying around. I've been taking the hard drives out of all of them. I've now taken them all out, and I had a thing that I can plug in as a receiver, and then it's USB to my computer, and all but 2 of the drives spun up, which was surprising because the computers don't work, and typically
Right.
it's because the drive wouldn't spin up. So I'm not advanced enough as a tech person to understand why it's working for this device but not for the computer itself, which is frustrating because the other computer, everything else in it works just fine. And if I knew just cloning the drive and putting the clone in would work, I would do that because it only cost me the cost of the drive, which would be about $50 for one the same size. But I don't want to spend that
Not knowing.
plus the cloning
Right.
device, which I don't have. That's about another 40. But I've been able to start going through and finding all these old files on computers that are like from the 90s and early 2000s that I've got stuff on that never drifted over because the computers died. And so I've been able to go through and find stuff from there. No real gold, but just it's been interesting seeing what I had there.
And by
And
the way, I don't hold it against you that you don't want to spend $90 on that stuff when you could buy like 3 pieces of door boards for that.
yeah, well, that or a 1 terabyte uh, solid state drive to back up all these videos on
Yeah, do that.
is what I'm probably going to be using it for.
All right. Well, so that's that for this
Yeah.
video, and we will touch on this topic again. And until then, do the algorithm dance. Like, subscribe, share, comment, good, bad, or ugly. Hit that notification bell so that you are notified when we drop a video. And until next time.
See you folks.